This is the Hockenheim Ring, the demanding 4.5-kilometer track. With its high-speed corners and slow passages, guaranteeing exciting maneuvers and battles. It is therefore the perfect stage for the Porsche Carrera Cup Finale 2016. The Porsche drivers visit Hockenheim for the second time this season. In May, it was Sven Müller that won the first race, and Jeffrey Schmidt prevailed in the second race. And the Swiss ace now will present the circuit for us.
We are here in Hockenheim, starting the lap onto the start, finish straight, probably the shortest one in the full calendar. First corner, really tricky one, using the full curb on the inside, really flying through this corner, using the full track on the exit. Not easy coming back over the AstroTurf. Approaching second corner, hard braking over the bumps, not easy not to lock up with the Cup car. We have no ABS, so it's easily to lock up, and now take as much speed as we can onto this really long straight, probably the longest straight of the full year. It's called Parabolica. We're accelerating up to about 260 kilometers per hour with slipstream, even a bit more. And then here and around 160 meters, really hard braking from 6th to 1st gear. Turn the car around, miss the apex here a little bit, and then accelerate up again to the 6th gear. Now there's probably the fastest corner on this circuit here. 5th gear, flat out. Approaching now Mercedes Arena, tricky left-hander, also easy to lock up, and now we're already approaching sector 3, which is probably the most technical one into some full motordrome. Really quick entry in the motordrome, 4th gear, using the full wide of the track, entering now into the Sachs curve corner with a lot of banking, which is not usual. You can enter a bit quicker than you think. And now for the last two corners, try everything you have. It's called Süd corner. Double right-hander, not easy, using the full curbs on the inside. Car is really unstable. And that was it. One lap in Hockenheim with Jeffrey Schmidt.
These two drivers are the contenders for the Carrera Cup title, Sven Müller and Christian Engelhardt. 12 points separate them before the last two races of the season. Müller is ahead, he's won 10 races, dominating the season. Christian Engelhardt's great attribute is consistency, scoring 11 podium finishes and making the battle for the title exciting until the very last weekend.
It's going to be a tough challenge, but I think at the end of the day, I have a feeling that Sven will take it. He has a small advantage in the points, as well as has had a good year so far, very strong the last couple of races. But at the same time, Christian is very strong here in Hockenheim, so it's going to be really exciting to see what happens. But I have a hand on Sven.
A crash in one race means you lose a whole lot of points, and if Christian achieves a great result, he's even a few points ahead after one race. So I'd say it's all up in the air. There are two more races, we have a very large field this weekend, and therefore a great deal can happen. I think Sven is going to wrap it up. It's going to be difficult, but I think he'll do it and not let it slip. At the moment, Sven has an advantage. He's 12 points ahead. But there are two more races with 40 points up for grabs. Christian Engelhardt is always very strong at Hockenheim. Nothing's decided. Both of them still have chances. It's essential to finish both races. That must be Sven's goal. It's not over yet. The first showdown on Saturday, qualifying. Engelhardt must make up points and try to put Sven Müller under pressure or even force him into making mistakes. The Bavarian is pushing. He goes to the limit and beyond. The spin spoils a perfect lap. P2 and P6 for the old hand. I think we took the maximum possible today. The car was great, the balance was superb, and I had two good laps. Where we are now, that's the position for the two races, and we'll see how it goes. One thing is certain, he is behind Sven Müller. The Porsche Junior is driving as if there were no pressure. He takes the poles for race 1 and race 2. His team principal, Franz Conrad, is very pleased. Sven Muller is seemingly not to be stopped on his way to the title. You know it's the last race, it's all or nothing now. You then try to drive as you always do. It takes a lot of energy to be excited and to maintain your focus. I think I did it perfectly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have secured pole position. Everything has to be perfect to set the pole position time in the Carrera Cup. So we're on the grid ahead of race 1 on Saturday. Sven Muller is on pole position. Well, if the pressure is on him, he's certainly not feeling it, and his qualifying performance supreme. Christian Engelhardt will start from P2. He's the man that's doing the chasing in the championship. And Jeffrey Schmidt will go from P3. One thing's guaranteed, the race will be exciting for the thousands of spectators here at Hockenheim. And at the start, we're on board with Sven Muller, who glances straight away at the rearview mirror and will dive to the inside of the track to deny Christian Engelhardt the opportunity to go P1 going into turn number 1. Sven Muller, a brilliant start from him, looking back at the Christian Engelhardt car, now chasing in P2. On board with Philip Morin now, and Philip Morin just touches Nick Foster from Conrad Motorsport, and that pushes Nick Foster into a spin. Wolf Natan has absolutely nowhere to go because as Bachmann spins as a result of the Foster-Morin incident, Natan cannot avoid a collision and hits him. On board with Nick Yellerly as we watch at the same time, Jeffrey Schmidt put a move on Christian Engelhardt and Sven Muller for P1, going all the way around the outside of the hairpin. That was a fantastic move from Jeffrey Schmidt here at Hockenheim. The safety car has been deployed due to the accident. Wolf Natan, thankfully, is unhurt beside the track, as you can see, and the Marek Bachmann car, unfortunately, is going to have to be recovered. That will take no further part in the race. Thankfully, both drivers okay. Let's hear from Marek Bachmann.
Es war halt einfach eine Verkettung vieler unglücklicher Umstände gewesen. Ich war in einem leichten Drift gewesen.
It was an unfortunate combination of circumstances. I slightly drifted in the exit to the corner. Someone spun in front of me. The field got closer and I had to lift off the throttle, which caused my rear to pull even more. I couldn't control the car any longer. With half the field behind me, one of the drivers just couldn't avoid a collision. He didn't see me, and then it just happened. So let's take a look at the replay then from the Wolf Natan onboard perspective. As they start the parabolica, you'll see the smoke coming off the Marek Bachmann car, which is spinning. Wolf Natan makes a valiant effort to try and turn out of it and just clips the rear end of the Marek Bachmann car. Let's hear from Wolf Natan now.
Ja, dat was zo snel, was zo impact.
It all happened so fast and it was such a big impact. So I saw the spinning car, Marek Bachmann, and Marek Bachmann was going backwards, and I thought, okay, I've got to keep going and I've got to dive out of it one way or the other. So I chose the right-hand side. At that point you have to make a decision and you have to go one way or the other. But on this occasion, unfortunately, I made the wrong choice. So with the debris to be cleared up, the race directors making the choice to red flag and stop the race. On board with Jeffrey Schmidt then, it's the restart and he will retain the lead with Sven Muller and Nick Yellerly behind him. Engelhardt needing to do some work here because, of course, he is at the moment in P4. So as they round the Sud curve at the restart, let's go on board with Nick Foster. He will overtake before the start-finish line, which is prohibited and will be disqualified after the race. You cannot overtake before the safety car line. So the head of the field, and it's Sven Muller catching up, but always staying behind Jeffrey Schmidt at this point. Through the hairpin they go then, one of the real pinch points here on the very demanding 4.5 kilometer Hockenheim circuit. So Sven Muller then, still behind Jeffrey Schmidt, on board with Wolfgang Triller, who's fighting with Lars Bertil Rantzau. Triller is the Class B champion, defending his position here. And in super slow-mo, let's take a look at this battle between the number 13 Wolfgang Triller car and the number 40 machine of Lars Bertil Rantzau then. And this is just how close they get. Schmidt still in front, then it's Muller, Yellerly and Engelhardt following. Engelhardt is fighting for P3 and Matteo Cairoli is just standing by, waiting to pounce behind. So looking very, very aggressive now is Christian Engelhardt in pursuit of that car ahead. Also looking lively is Nick Foster, the Australian, who overtakes here Matt Carlson. Of course, it would all be futile with his penalty to come at the conclusion of the race. But Christian Engelhardt maintains his attack on Nick Yellerly, and eventually it pays off as the Bavarian passes in the Parabolica for P3. Great move by Christian Engelhardt through the hairpin there. I wanted to make it to the podium, of course. I noticed that I'm a little quicker, not necessarily on the straights, but certainly in the corners. So I attacked in the hairpin and I passed him. I think it was a pretty good maneuver. Christian, you're absolutely right. It was a great overtake, and the years of experience that Christian Engelhardt has around this Hockenheim circuit all certainly paid off. On board with Jeffrey Schmidt as Sven Muller gets ever closer, but Schmidt stays in front of him for the moment, despite pushing as hard as he possibly can. And you can see the focus and the concentration then of Sven Muller. And as we go back to the Jeffrey Schmidt car, this is just how close they get together in the Carrera Cup Germany, the final race weekend of the year. And Sven Muller heading for that championship potentially. Franz Conrad, the boss of Conrad Motorsport, then on the pit wall, and on the MRS GT Racing pit wall we go as well. As they head towards the checkered flag, it is Jeffrey Schmidt that takes the win, and therefore that will be his second win of the season, and he wins ahead of Sven Muller and Christian Engelhardt. He was about as fast as I was today. It was close towards the end, but basically I was in complete control. I knew that he wouldn't pass me if I didn't make any mistakes, so I braked a few meters earlier in the last few laps. It's very hard to overtake someone if there are no mistakes, so I wrapped up the victory, even though it wasn't easy. So the drivers' cars arrive in Parc Fermé then, and Christoph Huber straight across there to congratulate his driver Jeffrey Schmidt, who's delivered a perfect performance in race number 1 to take the victory. And let's hear now from Sven Muller.
My start
wasn't so good. I was a little too cautious. I wanted to avoid a jump start. I lacked that 1/2 of a tenth, which is usually part of the risk you take. So the start wasn't ideal, but I'll proceed as usual tomorrow. The fact is that Sven is 14 points clear before the second race. He'll be champion if he doesn't retire. Also, he'll be starting from a better position, so it is going to be very difficult. But it's not over until it's over. We'll see the flag tomorrow at midday. Then we'll see how it is. Wolf Natan, of course, involved in that accident with Marek Bachmann in the first race. Now, he will enter race 2 with a different car, as it was impossible to repair the old one in the short time available. However, his team have to fulfill certain requirements. All the teams must consent. My team principal, Christoph Huber, has talked to all the teams and asked if there was a problem. They have to sign too. Everything has to be signed. We're in Germany after all. All of them agreed, and so I am able to start the race today. I will have to start from the back, but actually I don't care. I'm just glad to be here. So we're on the grid for race number 2, Sunday. And the prospective Porsche Juniors, Thomas Preining, Mikkel Jensen and Ralf Boschung visit the grid, alongside Albrecht Reimold, who's a member of the executive board for the production and the logistics at Porsche AG. The Porsche Junior program, so very, very important to the lucky few that are available to take part in that, and Sven Muller has been one of them. He reaches the end of his Porsche Junior time with this race at Hockenheim, where he starts from pole position. Going from P2 is Jeffrey Schmidt then, for the Lechner Huber Racing concern, and Jeffrey Schmidt will be full of confidence following his victory in race 1 yesterday. And then going from P3, a very good qualifying indeed for the Project 1 driver, David Kolkman, who's made his debut in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland this year. Franz Conrad looks on then, as does Christoph Huber. And we're about to start the final race of the 2016 season as the lights go out. Again, Sven Muller will try and dive to the inside. Indeed he does, and that denies Jeffrey Schmidt the P1 position going into turn number 1. David Kolkman following those two in P3, being hounded by his teammate Nick Yellerly, who is running in P4 as they go in towards turn number 2 now. Let's go on board with Christian Engelhardt, who's behind David Kolkman and Nick Yellerly. And those two are getting very feisty ahead. Is there going to be a touch between the two of them? And is Christian Engelhardt going to be able to take advantage? Yes, he is, because a little panel rubbing between the two Project 1 drivers plays right into the hands of Christian Engelhardt, who's able to make the move up into P3 and deny Nick Yellerly, who's now ahead of his teammate David Kolkman, as the two continue their battle going into the next sequence of turns. Here we can see it again. Sven Muller just taking a look at the inside of Jeffrey Schmidt, but all heck is breaking out behind them. As Kolkman and Yellerly get together, that plays into the hands of Christian Engelhardt. On board with Muller now as he reels in the Jeffrey Schmidt car. They are side by side. Oh, Muller goes to the inside, touches Jeffrey Schmidt, and Schmidt is in the barriers. That is a huge off, and the slightest touch unsettling the Jeffrey Schmidt car, which goes sliding into the barriers. His race is done and over, and the safety car is deployed. On board with Sven Muller, and he knows the mistake that he has made. You can see that in his emotional reaction through the crash helmet. Sven Muller just touching the back of the Jeffrey Schmidt car. Here we can see it again from another angle and in slow-mo. Now, actually, from there, it looks even more dramatic. It almost looks like Sven Muller turns in on the back of Jeffrey Schmidt car. Actually, it was a very, very slight touch, and it was just a misjudgment in terms of braking, I suspect, whether Jeffrey Schmidt broke just a little bit earlier. But nonetheless, Jeffrey Schmidt is the one that ends up in the barriers. His race done, and the car utterly destroyed. So there you can see Jeffrey Schmidt is surveying the damage to his Lechner Huber racing car, and his final race of 2016 ends in a very, very bent car. And any opportunity for Jeffrey Schmidt to take 2 out of 2 is denied, as Christoph Huber then is positively sprinting towards the race director. So as the race restarts then, it's going to be Sven Muller that will set the pace, because of course he is now P1 and Engelhardt is P2, with Yellerly, Morin, Kolkman and Cairoli all running behind. On board with Dennis Olsen behind Matteo Cairoli. Cairoli going to have a move here on David Kolkman, but he makes a mistake, and that means that it plays into the hands of Dennis Olsen, who will be able to pass both of them for P5. It's also close between Philip Morin and Nick Yellerly. That in replay going through the hairpin turn. And let's go on board with Dennis Olsen now. So the battle between Nick Yellerly, Morin and Olsen. The Norwegian tries to overtake, but here is hit and spins. Foster, Rettenbacher and Kolkman all going through and passing. Well, this is Sven Muller's mum on the pit wall, looking very nervous and very anxious indeed, because he gets a drive-through penalty. Franz Conrad will be in the pit lane to urge him on as he takes his drive-through penalty for the incident on Jeffrey Schmidt. There indeed is Franz Conrad. Come on, Sven Muller, he urges. Richie Muller, it's his second appearance for the German actor in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. He appeared at the Nürburgring circuit and is back out again here at Hockenheim, although his race ends up in the gravel, and that will mean that the safety car is deployed once again. And there is the situation with Richie Muller completely out on his own, unfortunately taking a spin and the car ending up in the gravel, which means that the safety car has to come out. We're on board now with David Kolkman, and this perhaps is the overtake of the race. Luca Rettenbacher tries again now, gets right alongside the Kolkman car. As you can see, he's carrying so much speed, and Luca Rettenbacher, with just the tiniest touch of brakes, does go through. Christian Engelhardt still in front. Nick Yellerly, Philip Morin and Matteo Cairoli are following here. Matteo Cairoli passes Morin then to go up into P3. Good move by Philip Morin, and on board with Wolfgang Triller. Muller behind him, trying to make up positions and take as many points as possible for the championship. And Wolfgang Triller is really making it very, very hard for Sven Muller, and why shouldn't he? He's in his own race, of course. Wolfgang Triller in the B category of the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, but now Sven Muller will get the run out of him from the Südkurve as they head towards turn number 1. Sven Muller does make up another place. On board with Olsen behind Foster, Olsen hits the Australian and causes him to spin. And that will mean that both Olsen and Muller can gain one position. However, Olsen incurs a drive-through penalty for that. So Dennis Olsen's race is compromised. So too that, of course, of the Conrad driver, Nick Foster. Let's hear what Dennis has got to say about it.
Then when I saw the room, I went for it. And unfortunately, it was close to a spin for Foster. But at the same time, if you don't go for the room you have, then I don't know what to do. I mean, I felt like there was room and a possibility to overtake, and that's what I did.
So you can see the spinning Nick Foster car then as a consequence, but Christian Engelhardt wins the race with Nick Yellerly. An excellent P2 for him, and Matteo Cairoli taking P3. Christian Engelhardt very satisfied with his race win. Sven Muller finishes 6th behind Olsen, but the Norwegian gets a penalty. That means that it's P5 for Muller, and he wins the title. He is just utterly relieved. You can see in the cockpit of the car there. Conrad Motorsport and Sven Muller take the 2016 championship, and there Franz Conrad, with all the support from the very, very well-known, very successful Conrad Motorsport team, add yet another championship to their tally. Sven Muller's mum is congratulated as well, and just look at the relief on the driver as he's embraced now by the team principal Franz Conrad. Just how much talent has Franz Conrad nurtured over a hugely successful career, and that's really, really good to see. Long may this continue, with drivers celebrating by doing donuts, and Sven Muller then goes onto the podium. The team below the podium then, and some of the champagne will be reserved for them, of that you can be sure. Andrea Hagenbach then, who runs the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland program, presents the trophy to Sven Muller, which he holds aloft for 2016. It's the win for him, and also, of course, for the Conrad Motorsport team. Spare a thought, perhaps, for Christian Engelhardt, who you can see up there, who's once again been denied the championship by actually but a few points, but the measure of consistency from Sven Muller. Let's hear from Christian Engelhardt now. Is he disappointed? We finished up runners-up for the second time in a row. The third time for me in aggregate. It shows how consistent I've been over the last few years. I'm proud. The joy outweighs the disappointment. Well, the celebrations in the paddock would continue for many hours for Sven Muller and the rest of the team. P1 2016. However, let's not forget that it wasn't all joy for Sven Muller. This particular incident between Sven Muller and Jeffrey Schmidt, which saw the race over very early on for Jeffrey Schmidt, who of course took the win in race 1. Muller, though, to be fair to him, apologises for his mistake. Let's hear what Jeffrey Schmidt has got to say about it. A completely unnecessary manoeuvre, if you ask me. One of us would have won the race. He just had to make it to the finish line to be champion, so it was completely unnecessary. And Sven Muller says you just don't want that. A season like that, all the races have been fair. To drive like this in the last race and cause a crash. I'm sorry, I ruined the race for him. It was an unclear situation, of course, but nonetheless, I am sorry. So the celebrations with the fans and with the family continues. Sven Muller wins the title in his last year as a Porsche Junior. A new junior will compete in the Porsche Carrera Cup next year. There was a junior screening at the Euro Speedway Lausitzring, and these are the drivers.
It's a really good feeling that Porsche trusted me and now made it in step 2.
I'm happy to be here, being a part of the last 4.
I'll do everything I can and see what comes out in the end.
I've been racing with 2 of these guys. It's going to be a tight battle.
Today we have the 4 national candidates looking for a driver competing in Carrera Cup Deutschland next year.
drivers are all coming from different categories, and that's their first experience with a Porsche car.
The car is much more horsepower than the cars I've driven so far. I've only driven Formula cars and front-wheel driven touring cars.
Quite a bit more weight, but a lot of power as well.
We are looking for the driver with the highest potential.
It's a big combination of things that they're looking for.
Being quick at the first moment is not important. You have a whole year.
You need to be a proper part of the Porsche family.
Becoming a Porsche Junior is maybe a good first step in the ladder for their racing career.
It's a great opportunity for me.
A great step to a future GT factory drive.
Since I can dream, I wish to be a Porsche Junior one day.
There's nothing more professional than Porsche.